राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय निताय सच्चिनंदन निताय सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि जय निताय सच्चिनंदन निताय सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. We'll start with the pranam mantras. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगल्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम Rama Rama Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayel Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. So we are reading Canto 1, Chapter 12, Verse 3. So I'll share the screen. So verse 3 of 12th chapter of first canto. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Srimad Bhagavatam 1.12.3. Tadidam shrotumichhamo gaditum yadi manyase bruhinah shraddadhananam yasya jnanamadachukah. Tadidam shrotumichhamo gaditum yadi manyase bruhinah shraddadhananam yasya jnanam adachukah. Tadidam shrotumichhamo gaditum yadi manyase Bruhina Shraddadhananam Yasya Jnanamadachukah. So anybody would like to chant? Yes, Prabhu, please.
Idam shotumuchhamo gaditum yadi manyase bruhinashtaddhananam yasya jnanam madachukah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else?
I will try.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Tadidam shrotam echamo gaditam yadi manyase bruhina shraddadhananam yasya yanam adachukah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Josh Prabhu, would you like to chant?
No, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. So we will read the synonyms. Tat, all, idam, this, shrotum, to hear, ichhamah, all willing, gaditum, to narrate, yadi, if, manyase, you think, bruhi, please speak, naha, we, shraddadhananam, who are very much respectful, yasya, whose, jnanam, transcendental knowledge, adat, delivered, shukaha, Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. We all respectfully want to hear about him, Maharaja Parikshit, to whom Shukadeva Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. Please speak on this matter. Purport. Shukadeva Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge to Maharaja Parikshit during the remaining 7 days of his life. And Maharaja Parikshit heard him properly, just like an ardent student. The effect of such a bona fide hearing and chanting of Srimad Bhagavatam was equally shared by both the hearer and the chanter. Both of them were benefited. Out of the 9 different transcendental means of devotional service to the Lord prescribed in the Bhagavatam, either all of them or some of them or even one of them are equally beneficial if properly discharged. Maharaja Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami were serious performers of the first 2 important items, namely the processing of chanting and the process of hearing, and therefore both of them were successful in their laudable attempt. Transcendental realization is attained by such serious hearing and chanting and not otherwise. There is a type of spiritual master and disciple much advertised in this age of Kali. It is said that the master injects spiritual force into the disciple by an electrical current generated by the master, and the disciple begins to feel the shock. He becomes unconscious, and the master weeps for his exhausting his store of so-called spiritual assets. Such bogus advertisement is going on in this age, and the poor common man is becoming a victim of such advertisement. We do not find such folk tales in the dealings of Shukadeva Goswami and his great disciple Maharaja Parikshit. The sage recited Srimad Bhagavatam in devotion, and the great king heard him properly. The king did not feel any shock of electrical current from the master, nor did he become unconscious while receiving knowledge from the master. One should not therefore become a victim of these unauthorized advertisements made by some bogus representative of Vedic knowledge. The sages of Naimisharanya were very respectful in hearing about Maharaja Parikshit because of his receiving knowledge from Shukadeva Goswami by means of ardent hearing. Ardent hearing from the bona fide master is the only way to receive transcendental knowledge, and there is no need for medical performances or occult mysticism for miraculous effects. The process is simple, but only the sincere party can achieve the desired result. So, Hare Krishna, everyone. I seek your blessings and prayers so that I can speak something which is meaningful and pleasing to Guru and Krishna and the devotees. So now we are hearing about Suta Goswami speaking Srimad Bhagavatam in Naimisharanya. So the audience headed by Shavanak Rishi, they are eager to know about Maharaja Parikshit, how his birth took place, etc. In the last verse, they were being asked. So now they are sincerely asking. The word respectfully is used here. So they are very politely and sincerely asking the speaker. They would like to hear about Maharaja Parikshit. And another important thing is to whom Shukadeva Goswami imparted transcendental knowledge. So they are mentioning both the speaker and the listener. And then they would like to know about Parikshit especially, and also, of course, what did Shukadeva Goswami speak to Maharaja Parikshit, etc. also. But here, specifically, they would like to know in the previous verse, as mentioned, I'll just share that, how he was born in that womb, how did his death take place, and what did he achieve after his death. So these are very, very important questions. As mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, we have to approach a spiritual master politely. We have to ask or inquire about the knowledge by serving the spiritual master. That is a way to go. And it is mentioned in the Vedanta Sutra and other scriptures also, the purpose of human life. It is mainly self-realization, to know who we are and who the Supreme Personality of God or the controller of everything is, and what is the relationship between me and that Supreme Divine Lord. And once we know that, we can start acting based on that relationship and then achieve self-realization. So these are the kind of questions one has to ask when one gets the rare form of human life. That's what we hear again and again and again from the Vedic literatures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj very much emphasized that aspect. Kaumara acharet pragyo dharman bhagavatan iha, etc. And he's giving the emphasis on Durlabham Manusham. This Janma is human form of life is very, very rare. He's also telling it is Adhruvam, that is, it is temporary. So we have only so much time given in this human form of life. After that, if we do not act according to the purpose, which is self-realization, then we might get another kind of species, not a human form. Again, it might take several lifetimes to get back this human form of life. Again, a short period is given. So this is Adhruvam, temporary life is given. But Prahlad Maharaj is also telling it is Arthadam. very, very, very meaningful, this human form of life. Temporary, short period, but this is very, very meaningful. So utilize it right from the beginning, very early, tender age, early 5 years old. Prahlad Maharaj is teaching his own classmates. They are also around that age. Instead of spending time, losing time or wasting time in playing, please utilize the human form of life. That's what he was teaching. Now here, the kind of questions one has to ask. So we are getting trained by these great sages, what we have to ask and whom we have to ask. So that is very important. Srila Prabhupada always emphasized this fact that hear from an authorized personality who is coming in the disciplic succession, Guru Parampara, so that we will be in the right path and we can achieve the goal of human form of life. Now this verse is very important because it is described here, tad idam shrotum ichhamo, we would like to hear. So the word here is very important. As we know from Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna speaks tachrunu. He's asking Arjuna to hear and then that way achieve the transcendental knowledge. Now we have to hear from the proper authority. That's only condition there. And Bhagavatam also describes how to hear, what is the qualification of a listener, or how do we make sure we develop the affinity to hear the proper topics, that is topics about Krishna. So these are all described in Bhagavatam. Before going to that, so here Prabhupada is given a very important point, the effect of such a bona fide hearing and chanting. So one person will be speaking or chanting and the other person is hearing here. Parikshit Maharaj is hearing and Shukadeva Goswami is speaking Bhagavatam, and they are asking all these things. What happened to Parikshit Maharaj after death? Just before death, what did he do? Of course, he heard from Shukadeva Goswami. So these are very important topics they know. So Prabhupada is mentioning this effect was equally shared by both the hearer and the chanter. That means both the hearer and chanter has to be qualified. The hearer has to be qualified to hear, ardent hearing, and the chanter, of course, has to be qualified to speak. Now that qualification for speaking Bhagavatam or transcendental topics is coming in the line of disciplic succession and following perfectly as it is the knowledge received from the Guru Parampara. So here he is mentioning the transcendental realization is attained by such serious hearing and chanting and not otherwise. So there is again the same purport. He mentions that fact, that is, there is no other way to gain transcendental knowledge or transcendental realization other than this hearing and chanting. That's why even Prahlad Maharaj speaks to his own demoniac father about the 9 processes of devotional service, starting with Shravanam Kirtanam. So Shravanam Kirtanam is very, very important, because if we do Shravanam and Kirtanam, all the other 7 processes will follow naturally. I mean, we cannot avoid anything else. If we are hearing properly and chanting properly, then naturally Smaranam will be there. Whatever we hear, that is what we are remembering. Even in the mundane world, whatever we hear, we will dream about that, we will think about that naturally without any force. Also, whatever we speak, we might talk a lot of matters every day to different kinds of people, and things will get stuck on those topics which we emphasize more, and with much focus, whatever we speak, that also stay in our mind. So the Smaranam, 3rd process, is natural. Shravanam, Kirtana, Smaranam, if we are hearing and chanting properly. We don't need to make extra effort to remember. If we are talking about Krishna and hearing about Krishna, automatically things will come. Krishna's topics. And Pada Sevanam. So especially if it is about Krishna, such a great personality, the entire existence is under his control. He is the supreme enjoyer, supreme controller, maintainer, Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. So such a great personality, when we hear and chant about him and think about him, automatically we will feel like serving him. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam. We will feel like serving his lotus feet. Then following that is Archanam. So we will worship him naturally. And then Vandanam. So we know he is the only shelter. So naturally we will pray to him for anything and everything. And Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam. We feel like I am his servant. Because of all these other processes, they will make us naturally feel that Krishna is our master and I am your servant, Krishna. I have no other shelter other than you, and I'm taking shelter of you as a servant, as Arjuna did in 2nd chapter, 7th verse. Arjuna is a friend of Krishna. They used to play and all those things. But when he was in this great trouble of confusion, finally he realized that, yes, I have to take shelter of Krishna as his disciple, not as his friend anymore. So he became a servant, disciple of Krishna. Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, then Sakhyam. Now Sakhyam can have different meanings. So Sakhyam here, in general, Sakhyam means, as Krishna mentions, Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. I am the friend of all living entities. So we can feel Krishna as our Suhrit or friend. That means usually the meaning of Suhrit means one having a good heart. So one who is ready to help us in any condition, regardless of what the other person is receiving or not, regardless of that. So unconditional help or support. So Krishna can be considered as friend for us also in that sense. But Krishna is friend of Gopas also, but they have a very close connection, that friendly connection wherein they can behave in any way which is pleasing to Krishna. They might defeat Krishna, they might hit Krishna, they might tease Krishna, all these things, but we are not instructed to imitate them. So we don't consider Krishna as a friend in that way. But once we are purified, Krishna might reveal our original nature. And if that is a friendship, then we might act in that friendship. But in this, during our sadhana bhakti, we are asked to become or act as a dasa or servant. But we can consider him as a friend also in this way, that he is there for us in any condition. Only he is there for us. So that mood we will acquire naturally by Shravanam and Kirtanam. And then Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. So once we have all these things, then naturally we will feel like dedicating everything, mind, body, senses, words, everything, soul, ourself, to Krishna. So all these 9 processes Prabhupada mentions here, whether one follows all these 9 processes or a few of them, or at least one of them, that person can achieve self-realization. But as we know, one cannot stuck to one process alone without touching on any of other 8. That is not possible, because it is quite natural that even if one is offering prayers or worship, naturally they'll have this feeling like, I want to become a servant, or I want to hear about Krishna. That's why Prabhupada made this temple or temples all over the world, to attract people who may be in the very preliminary stages of their bhakti path. Maybe Prakrita Bhaktas who just would like to go to the temple, see the deity, and then come back home. That's all they want. But if they make that as a practice or a habit, then as we can see, many people visit the temple for the first time. They will just come and see the Radha, Krishna or Gauranitai deities, and then they'll just go back home. They may not even see Prabhupada Murti or pay respect to Prabhupada because they may not know. But then gradually when they come more often, devotees will talk to them, or they will feel like, they'll have some attraction to the temple atmosphere and talk to them. Then they will come to know about Prabhupada and devotees. And so they are growing in their devotional path. So they might have started just by offering some of the prayers which they had. But from that they started hearing. They would like to hear about Krishna. and they would like to hear about the devotees, and then they would like to chant, etc. So once someone starts one process, they will naturally will follow all other 8 processes, whichever they choose. So that is another meaning of, one can, but the potency is there for any one of the process is enough for one to become self-realized and go back to Godhead. That much potency is there in all of these processes. And Srila Prabhupada also cautions us, he used to do that with his disciples also, that there are many such bogus gurus. Sorry, I went. Anyway, there are many bogus gurus, and we have to be very careful about such gurus. Now, they may have different intentions. One might need to become famous, create so many followers and become famous. Just a sense gratification, one type of sense gratification. Other one may have a desire to acquire so much of wealth, money, by becoming a guru, and then asking money from so-called disciples and things like that. So for that purpose, they might do anything and everything. So this example given here is a master injects spiritual force by an electrical current, and then disciple begins to feel the shock. So these are bogus. He is cautioning us. And sometimes they become unconscious and master weeps, and all these things are not the symptoms of bhakti in the preliminary stage. Yes, weeping is a symptom of bhakti, but then this is coming at the later stages of bhakti. So this is a natural byproduct. So Prabhupada was asked once in the early days in the Western world, someone was asking, Swamiji, I see that many different Swamis are coming from India here, and then they show different kinds of magic, this, that, mystical power and all those things, creating a fruit from their hand all of a sudden, or creating some bhasma powder and all these things. So what is your magic? So Prabhupada answered differently at different times, but once he answered that, I don't do such things, but my magic is I am making these hippies to happies, see my disciples, etc. So that is his magic. So his magic is very simple, which is authorized. It is not that he's giving an electrical current and someone just feels some shock and then suddenly rolling on the ground and all those things. That is not what he prescribed, but he was going very systematically. He started with chanting, and then other side, whoever was coming to the park where he was chanting, they were able to hear. So he started with this simple process of hearing and chanting, Shravanam Kirtanam only. And then again, he continued that by teaching Bhagavad Gita. He was speaking, others were hearing. And then majorly he was doing that. And then he started worshipping and all those things, temple worship, etc., etc. So he is very much emphasizing on this fact that we have to accept a bona fide spiritual master. Otherwise, the purpose will not be achieved. And he is also giving this important thing. One should not therefore become a victim of these unauthorized advertisements. So this is made by some bogus representative of Vedic knowledge. So they claim that I am a Vedic scholar. I know this scripture, I know Bhagavatam, I know Bhagavad Gita, all these things. So people can get attracted, but then he's giving this caution that we shouldn't get entangled into those bogus representatives. So here this speaker, so both Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, they were both authorized speaker and listener. And again, same Suta Goswami and the audience, they are also authorized speakers and listeners. So he is very much, this audience, they are very much interested to hear about Parikshit Maharaj. So one might think that, they are eager to hear about Parikshit Maharaj. Why not they are eager to hear about Krishna? Of course, they were asking about Krishna also, but why not only Krishna? Because Krishna is the Lord. We are Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. So we are asked to remember Krishna. We are asked to chant about Krishna. We are asked to hear about Krishna. So why are they asking Parikshit Maharaj? So as we know, the pure devotees, Krishna keeps them at a higher level than himself. He speaks that one who claims to be a devotee of me is not a genuine devotee, but one who claims a devotee of my devotee is the actual devotee. And Krishna speaks to Durvasa Muni also in the Ambarish Maharaj pastime. Sadhava hridayam mahyam sadhunam hridayam tvaham madanyate na janandi, etc. That means my heart is filled with the thoughts of devotees. Bhagavad Gita also Krishna speaks that. Machitta madgata prana in that verse. And then he's telling the hearts of devotees are filled with my thoughts. And they know nothing except me. And I know only about devotees, nothing else. Krishna is the knower of everything. He sits in the heart of every living entity, devotees, non-devotees, demons, devatas, whatever. But he's telling, I know nothing except the devotees. Of course, that is the affection he's mentioning. So he keeps the devotees at a higher level. The reason is because the devotees are always absorbed in the thoughts of Krishna. So if one is hearing about a devotee, that means naturally that person will hear about Krishna only, because devotees are always thinking about Krishna and acting for the pleasure of Krishna. So if you take any devotee, we can see that that devotee's life will be filled with Krishna's remembrance, Krishna's instructions, or Krishna's glories, or all those things. So we can take the example of Srila Prabhupada. So we have this book, Srila Prabhupada's Leelamrita, all about pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. And that Leelamrita, if one reads Leelamrita, we know that it is equally potent as Srimad Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. Because right from the beginning of that book, Leelamrita, it is describing the childhood pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. What did he do? He was born as a devotee. His father is a great devotee of Krishna. He was taken to the temple of Krishna. He will see the arati of Krishna. He will imitate that at home. He will watch his father doing arati, even if it is at night, late night. He will not miss the arati, his father. So he's learning all these things. Father is giving the deities of Radha Krishna, teaching him Mridanga. And then Prabhupada is visiting Jagannath Puri. And right from beginning, all we are hearing is about Krishna only. Because that devotees' activities are all centered around Krishna only. And devotees' speech, everything is meant to please Krishna. So hearing about devotee, as mentioned here, we would like to hear about Parikshit Maharaj, means it is pure devotional service only, the Shravanam only, no difference. So we can see these wonderful aspects of respecting a devotee. So there is a verse in multiple verses, of course, but I'll share one verse wherein the devotee is glorified, which so this is mentioned in the very famous verse in the first canto itself, 16th chapter, second chapter of first canto, 16th verse. This is about how to achieve or develop the inclination to hear about Krishna. So this famous verse, Shushrusho Shraddha Dhanasya Vasudeva Katharuchi Syan Mahal Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevanal. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. So the great service is defined as serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, all the pure devotees. So serving them is the great service. And Krishna likes that service better than serving Krishna himself. Because serving a pure devotee means the pure devotee will ask us to serve Krishna only. So naturally, we cannot avoid serving Krishna if we serve a pure devotee. So by such service, we can gain the affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. That's what mentioned. So here Prabhupada mentions in the purport, it's a wonderful purport. He mentions that the servants of God, pure devotees, are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. Of course, he is giving the caution that we shouldn't consider them as Krishna himself, but respected as we respect Krishna. Give the same respect to the pure devotee as the kind of respect we give to the Supreme Lord. That's what he meant. So he continues, such servants of God are called Mahatmas or Tirthas, Punya Tirthas. And they preach according to particular time and place, because they exactly know how to speak, what to speak, whom to speak, when to speak, all those things. As Prabhupada personally demonstrated that. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. They never tolerate being called God. This is also very important. They did not like them to be called as God, because they know Krishna is different, devotees are different. But we should give the same kind of respect which we give to Krishna, to the pure devotee also. So that also means we should have eagerness to hear about the devotees of Krishna also, equal eagerness as we have the eagerness to hear about Krishna. Then our life will be completely successful, guaranteed, 101%. Srila Prabhupada mentions, even if you become 75% perfect, as per my instruction, I will pull you to the Goloka Vrindavan. So that is the beauty of serving a devotee. It is very much guaranteed that the devotee will protect us, even if we kind of show some tendency to fall down or something like that. And same thing, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was God himself according to the indication of revealed scriptures, but he played the part of a devotee. So people who knew him to be God addressed him as God, but he used to block his ears with his hands and chant the name of Lord Vishnu, because he wanted to demonstrate the etiquette and behavior of a devotee. So that's why he was also behaving like that. So in this verse, we understand that serving a devotee is the first activity which we have to do to achieve the love of Godhead. So when we start serving the devotee, having that association will properly take us from wherever we are to the position where we are having complete Krishna Prema. So this is very, very important. So hearing about Parikshit Maharaj is very, very important, which is as good as hearing about Krishna. Because as we can see from the lives of Parikshit Maharaj, right from even before he was taking birth, within the womb, the pastime is he is seeing Krishna face to face. So right from beginning, or even before the beginning of his life in this world, Krishna is there with him. So that is the beauty of hearing about Krishna or hearing about a devotee of Krishna. Now there is another verse again in Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes the potency of hearing. There are set of verses. This is from Canto 2 and Canto 2, Chapter 1. There are set of verses. I'll share that. I'll just read the translation only here, but it is very beautiful. Something about hearing. This is again in connection with Shukadeva Goswami. So here, Shukadeva Goswami is speaking here. This is in second canto. My dear king, your question is so glorious. So he is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. His question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. So here Shukadeva Goswami is clarifying what are the topics which we are meant to hear, because there are so many topics in this material world which people are ready to speak, and they are speaking directly or through audio, video, or books, etc. But here Shukadeva Goswami is giving the topic. What are the proper topics? So those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society. And the lifetime of such an envious householder is passed at night either in sleeping or in sex indulgence, and in the daytime either in making money or maintaining family members. If we hear Srila Prabhupada lectures on a regular basis, we will not miss this fact. Multiple times he speaks the same thing. Maithuni bhavam evam, all those things, and eating, sleeping, mating, defending, mainly eating and sleeping, and daytime making money. People are running here and there. The cars are going from this place to that place. Why they are doing all these things? They just want to get some money during the daytime, evening, have so much of food stuff, whatever kind of, and then have sex and all those things, just sense gratification. So Shukadeva Goswami is giving that knowledge. Now he continues, Shukadeva Goswami, persons devoid of Atma Tattva do not inquire into the problems of life, being too attached to the fallible soldiers like the body, children, and wife. Although sufficiently experienced, meaning experienced in chewing the chew, experienced in trying to enjoy and suffering, trying to enjoy and suffering, trying to enjoy and suffering, they still do not see their inevitable destruction. That is the foolish nature. That's why Krishna called them mudhas or naradhamas, etc. Now in Prabhupada's words, kindly he called rascals. So Shukadeva Goswami continues, O descendant of King Bharata, one who desires to be free from all miseries, now he's giving the solution, must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is a super soul, the controller and the savior from all miseries. And then he mentions the important fact that the highest perfection of human life, achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. Meaning different ways, this different kinds of yoga system, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, or karma yoga, or whatever. The ultimate perfection is to remember the personality of Godhead. So that's what Shukadeva Goswami is giving, and he continues the instruction. This is very wonderfully structured. So we see that hearing is most important thing, but what to hear and whom to hear, from whom to hear, these are very, very important. And there is a very important instruction given by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, that how can we make sure that we do not come back to this cycle of birth and death. So Krishna speaks, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. So Krishna speaks, one who understands the janma, that is birth, and karma, activities of Krishna, one who understands that these are divyam or divine, and yo veti tatvatah, completely understand Krishna in that way, that person doesn't need to come back to this world again. And tatvatah tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti, no more taking another birth. Mameti punarjanma naiti mameti. Arjuna, he is telling Arjuna like that. You will attain my abode. That's what Krishna is telling. But then how do we understand, or how can we understand this aspect? We know that Krishna descended, Krishna is Supreme Lord, but how can one understand perfectly that Krishna's birth and activities are perfect? Again, in this purport, as Prabhupada mentioned, the only way to understand this is by hearing and chanting, Shravanam and Kirtanam. So this process of hearing and chanting is very, very, very important if one wants to achieve success in the human form of life. The exact instruction Sri Prahlad Maharaj is giving to his wonderful classmates, same thing. And even he is giving this instruction to the most demoniac father, the king of the demon. He's calling him as king, greatest demon. And he's giving this instruction. Don't get distracted in this material entanglement, but do this Shravanam and Kirtanam. So whether one is highly qualified in the material matters, or one is illiterate or so, or one is one has taken birth in Brahmin family, or great birth, or great great country like Bharatvarsha, or doesn't matter. Anybody and everybody has to go through this process of hearing and chanting to achieve the goal of human life. And there are many verses in connection to this, as we all know. But I like this particular verse very much about hearing. So I would like to chant and glorify this for my own purification. This is given by Kapila. Now Kapila is instructing Mother Devahuti. So he's starting with Samkhya Yoga. So what is spirit, what is matter? We have to understand the difference between spirit and matter. And then we have to know we are not the matter, we are the spirit. And then, but Kapila is not stopping there. He's going into the pure devotional service, and he's giving detailed instruction. He's giving the qualities of pure devotees also. He's giving the process of pure devotional service. So in that exercise, he's mentioning this verse. This is 25th chapter of 3rd canto, very celebrated verse, and 25th verse also. This is 3:25:25. Easy to remember the number, but the very beautiful verse. This is Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha tajjoshanadasvapavargavartmani shraddharatir bhaktir anukrameshyati. So this is mentioning how one can progress and how one can switch from the sadhana bhakti stage to the spontaneous bhakti or pure devotional service. So unless someone like Kapila gives this instruction, we will not know. Sometimes, jokingly people mentions, this pure devotee symptom. Sometimes when we chant, tears may come. So people like me may think that, oh, now I am pure. It is bogus. This is not purity. It is just maybe Krishna is giving a glimpse of it, or the mercy of Guru Maharaj or pure devotees. We are getting that glimpse, or different other reasons. But here is the actual process. If one would like to become that kind of a pure devotee, wherein Mahaprabhu speaks in the Shikshashtakam, the symptoms of pure devotee, tears will come, voice will be choking, and all those things. How one can achieve that stage of bhakti, wherein spontaneously we will we will think about Krishna. We don't need to think about Krishna. Our hearts will be filled with Krishna's memories and devotees. So that stage we can achieve like this way. This is what Kapila Dev is telling. Satam prasangan. That means association of pure devotees. And that is the only way. There is no other shortcut. We cannot achieve this on our own. Satam prasangan mama virya samvido. Because once we have association of devotees, we will be hearing about wonderful activities of Krishna. Even Bhagavad Gita, he speaks about that. Machitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So they are going through this ecstasy, bliss. How? They are talking about me, Krishna. That's what he is telling. Bodhayantah parasparam. Mutually they are talking about Krishna Katha only. And in this verse he speaks, then bhavanti hrit karna rasayana katha. What is this quality of Krishna Katha? Which is rasayana, means amrit, nectar, or pleasing. Pleasing to hrit and karna. Hrit means the heart, pleasing to the heart and pleasing to the ears. Krishna Katha, mama virya samvido. Now what happens when we do that? Tajjoshanad ashu apavarga vartmani. So when we cultivate this, then we will achieve this detachment from the materialistic activities and becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and the attraction to Krishna will be fixed. That is the last line, Shraddha Ratir Bhaktir Anukrameshyati. So this Apavarga Vartmani, Prabhupada gives detailed explanation of what is Apavarga. So this comes from Pavarga, 5 letters pa, pha, ba, bha, ma, which according to acharyas, pa is parishram. We make so much effort to enjoy this material world, and then pha is phenam, form will come from the mouths by this hard work, and then we will have ba, bandhana, attachment to this materialistic assets which we possess by our hard work, and then we will have fear, bhaya, pa, pha, ba, bha, fear about, will I lose this money or house or whatever this which I achieved by my hard work. That bhaya will develop, and then finally we will die, mrityu, ma for mrityu. So apavarga means negation of these things, means we are not working hard for achieving materialistic sense gratification. So no form coming, no bandhana to materialistic assets, or no bhaya, fear about anything. Whether I will lose this or not, I don't care. As far as I'm not losing my bhakti, as far as I'm not losing devotee association, as far as I'm not losing Krishna, I'm fine. And then mrityu, devotee doesn't scare about the death. They are welcoming the death, because I'll either go back to Krishna again, or Krishna will give me another chance to continue bhakti. So I'm not losing anything. So no fear about that. So that is apavarga vartmani. And then shraddha, more faith, and then rati, more attraction, and bhakti will follow in order. So in this translation, Prabhupada writes this translation very nicely, because people like me, I will not understand the meaning unless I read this translation. So he writes, in the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. So it is pleasing when we are in the association of devotees. Otherwise, we don't know. It may be pleasing, may not be, we never know. But if we hear from a pure devotee, it will be very pleasing to the ears and the heart. It will enter to the heart. Otherwise, most probably, it will enter through one ear and exit through the other ear. If we hear from the bogus kind of persons, sometimes it might look very charming for some time, but it will not enter the heart. But here it will enter the heart, because satam prasangan. Then Prabhupada writes in the translation, by cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation. And thereafter, so after advancing in the path of liberation, he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. So this is the way to get a fixed attraction, the steady stage of bhakti. In satam prasangan, in the association of devotees, hear the Krishna Katha. And then Prabhupada writes the last line, very interesting. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. So then only we are beginning the actual devotional service. Till then it is sadhana bhakti, as we know, at least I feel that, because sometimes it is, feel like chanting, sometimes hearing, sometimes not interested. Namnamakari bahudha nija sarva shakti tatrarpita niyamita smaranena kala etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaiva midrisham ihajani na anuraga. Mahaprabhu tells for conditioned souls that Krishna's holy name is filled with all the potencies of Krishna. There is no rules and regulation to chant. Anytime we can chant. Even after all these flexibilities, I have no interest in chanting. So that is the state of conditioned souls. And that is when we get association of a pure devotee, and we may start the devotional service, but that is sadhana bhakti. But to reach to the stage wherein we are beginning the actual devotional service, we have to go through this process continuously in association of pure devotees, hearing and glorifying Krishna's holy name. So that is why this Shaunaka Maharshi and other audience in Naimisharanya is requesting Suta Goswami to speak about Parikshit Maharaj, speak about Shukadev Goswami. What were their conversation? What was the effect of that conversation, that Bhagavatam, hearing Bhagavatam? What happened to Parikshit Maharaj after that 7 days, etc. So these are very, very important in our life also. And in Shikshashtakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu glorifies the Haridam Sankirtan, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. What are the effect of chanting the holy names, starting with Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Our hearts will be purified, and after that, all the other beautiful aspects he's describing in that verse. And he demonstrated also when he was when he descended as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, in the mood of Radharani, in the mood of a devotee, descended here. He daily he wanted to hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit, and especially he liked the pastimes of Prahlad Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj. There are so many teachings in these two pastimes for conditioned souls like us, and he used to repeatedly hear these pastimes every day. And in that way, he demonstrated the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And there is another verse which is from Canto 1, Chapter 5. This is also a famous verse. This 11th verse of Canto 1, Chapter 5. In this verse also, it is described the glories of hearing. So I'll chant this verse and then stop the discussion. So this is Tadvag Visargo Janatagha Viplavo Yasmin Pratishlokama Abadhavatyapi Namanyanantasya Yashonkitani Yat Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti Sadhava. So the translation by Prabhupada goes like this. On the other hand, so this is Narada Muni speaking to Vyasadeva, because he was not satisfied after writing all the Vedic literatures, Puranas and also Itihasas and all. So Narada Muni is instructing glorify directly glorify the pastimes of Krishna. So in that context, Narada Muni is speaking. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc. of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words, directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Very, very important, very inspiring, very strong words is being used. Janatagha Viplavo is mentioned here. It is a Viplava, revolution. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, it doesn't matter how it is composed, as far as it is full of transcendental glories of Krishna, name, fame, forms, pastimes. They are heard, sung and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. They are pure in heart, honest. They simply likes to hear the glories of Lord, whether they are composed perfectly or imperfectly, in the sense that the words and grammar and all those things doesn't matter. But these things will create a revolution in the impious lives of the conditioned souls who are misdirected by the three gunas in this material world. So such is the potency of literatures like Srimad Bhagavatam. The only condition is it has to be about Krishna and his devotees, and it has to be coming from the heart of a pure devotee who is coming in the disciplic succession. So from a genuine devotee, if we are hearing, then the effect will be there. The ultimate effect is achieving Krishna Prema, but it is stage by stage, as given in the 9 stages of bhakti: Adav, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, all the contamination will be gone, and then steady state of bhakti, and then Ruchi, Asakti, and Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. So it is gradual, stage by stage, but the process has to be continued. So that is the beauty of hearing Krishna Katha or hearing the pure devotees' pastimes. That's why we are hearing about different acharyas all the time. Whenever there is Krishna Katha, at least from a genuine devotee, we can also hear some pastimes or some interactions between Krishna and that pure devotee. And very good example is Srimad Bhagavatam, also Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We can see that all these chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of descriptions about how the Lord is interacting with the devotee, or how devotee is interacting with the Lord. So it is very, very important to hear about these things. So when we hear about the Lord and the devotee, then we have guaranteed success. Bhagavad Gita ends with that. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara. Both Krishna and devotee, pure devotee. Tatra Shrir Videyo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. So we can all help each other by participating in the discussions about Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and other Krishna Katha, and develop our affinity to hear more and achieve Krishna Prema in that sense. And I seek your blessings and prayers so that I can continuously participate in these discussions. So I'll stop here and invite for any discussions or sharing some of your realizations. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Prem Vardhana Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
We're exploring this many concepts that you and instructions that you discussed today. Does any devotee have questions, reflections, requests for elaboration?
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna Dandavat Pranam. Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you so much. Wonderful class, Prabhu, as always. So many aspects to it, too. So many nicely reciting wonderful shlokas and nicely bring out so many wonderful points, too. And especially you stress upon the hearing, Shravanam, today. And it's very nicely inspiring that verse, Satam Miriam Maviyasam, the very beautiful verse, Prabhu. I remembered other set of verses which emphasizes and exemplifies the process of hearing was in the first canto, second chapter.
Yes, yeah.
That was
I
7
like those
verses
too.
or 8 verses.
Yeah. I very much like that too.
Yeah, beautifully explaining the process of hearing and what happens if we do this. It's like
Right.
cause and effect kind of thing.
Yeah.
Very beautifully. I just remembered that particular part as well. But thank you so much for bringing so many wonderful points through and beautifully explaining Shripa's purport. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your sharing your realizations and adding to it. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Any other comments or questions? Yes, I think one can speak so much about hearing and the quality of hearing and the importance of hearing. So many things to say. I really love the parallel of the eagerness of the sadhus at Namashranya to hear, and the eagerness of Parikshit Maharaj to hear. It has so many wonderful qualities that the same effect from that eagerness that came from Parikshit Maharaj can come to those who have the similar quality to hear. I really like that. I also like the quality of questions one asks reveals the nature of one's heart. And I really like how they reveal their heart in such a genuine way, the Shaunaka Rishi and the sadhus at that place. Something very wonderful we were reading in our Bhagavatam class a couple of weeks ago was how, in a way, a question that comes up in Canto 4, where the Shaunaka starts asking Sutta Goswami about Parikshit Maharaj and his glorious appearance and his lifetime activities and his eventual death, and about Vyasadeva is now getting answered about Parikshit Maharaj in this chapter. But I really like the commentary of Acharyas where specifically Jiva Goswami speaks that how Sutta Goswami was not a Brahmin by birth, whereas Shaunaka Rishi was. And
Yes.
Jiva Goswami talks about how the wonderful quality of Sutta Goswami was he sought out being in the audience of a conversation between Shukdev Goswami and Prakshit Maharaj. And a result of attentive hearing at that point, he became qualified. And then Jiva Goswami says, and actually Sutta Goswami sought out the audience of the sadhus of Namashranya, and there that he actively sought that audience, not just passively. They requested him, and therefore he was very qualified as a result and overcame any disqualification from birth, etc. And when I read that, I realized, attentive hearing and attentive repeating is very powerful. And to realize that is the essence of realizing, Shabda Brahman through that process. So, yeah, this is a very nice. This section of verses are very nice, and there are so many amazing parallels in Bhagavatam that the mind just kind of explodes.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all these wonderful connectivities to increase our eagerness to hear. Yes.
Thank you for allowing me to
Hare Krishna.
speak. So, thank you. I appreciate you trying to engage in this process genuinely for the glorification of the Lord. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Prema Vardhana,
So
I hope you had a very nice Ramanami
yes, yeah.
at your location. And
Yes, Prabhu.